So thanks, Rohit, for joining. I appreciate you giving us our time. Brief background about Rohit. Rohit has 15 years of experience in technology, and he has been an alumni of IIM Bangalore. He has a vast experience, and today he will be speaking about and talking us through about his experience, which will help students, which will help employees throughout the career journey. So over to you, Rohit. Just give us a detail about yourself, and then we'll start a podcast.
No, thank you so much, Jyoti, for having me here. I think we go back a long way. We were in school together. We've grown up together. So it's just absolutely my pleasure to support this initiative. I think the whole philosophy around openness, right? The fact that you're trying to build a marketplace where individuals will be able to get to job readiness much faster, and at the same time, organizations will be able to find talent that will fit their requirement also in a much more efficient way. I think that's a great example of how good AI application should be. You don't have to find ways to cut down the human from the value chain, right? You have to instead enable the human, right? So I think it's a great initiative, and I'm very happy to have this conversation. And yes, regarding my experience, I started out as a developer, and then I went on to do quite a few things. Actually, I did a bit of sales, I did marketing, I was leading analytics for a company, and then I went on to do product management. So as we speak, probably we will talk more about how all these small pieces, fit together, and how my experience adds up to the skill set that I have been able to absorb from the market, right?
Great. So here's the product. It is about it gives the students, the colleges, a window so that they can integrate with the AI systems the way they are kind of working today. So rather than changing them much, how AI can kind of bring and add value to their lives. So that kind of a possibility we are searching through this product of openness. And it's free for people, free for students, free for employees, everybody. They can use it and they can kind of get in touch with or kind of look into the window of what is coming, the AI technologies. So we have seen the entire journey. We have seen how the technology landscape has changed, the technologies we used to use, the time we were, and today how it has kind of progressed. So your learning from you, understanding from you about this landscape, your experience about how you kind of orchestrated your experience by using these technologies will be a great learning for our students today. Yeah. So for your career journey and the lessons learned, you had a fascinating career spanning 15 years from software engineering to leading product innovations. So what are some of the key turning points which you think have shaped your journey throughout the experience you had?
Fascinating is a very strong word, but I think it's been interesting, honestly. I took some risk and I did some detours. I didn't stick to the conventional pattern all throughout, and because of that, I've been able to pick up some experiences which are richer in taste. I wouldn't say all of it was successful, but I don't regret any of it because it's kind of made me who I am. So what happens in anybody's life is that you have these turning points, and then you have these long periods of slow cooking, right, which kind of prepare you for the next turning point. Um, Both of us kind of grew up in a middle class, small city neighborhood, limited means, and limited exposure to anything that is happening outside, right? I think we knew at that time itself that the only way to cross over is through education, right? So we used to have this unsaid rule in the house that we should try to avoid buying first hand books as much as possible, you know and it was more of a community thing. We would borrow from the community would borrow from us, and nobody used to feel awkward, or feel a sense of poverty or anything like that. How it helped is that it sort of inculcated a value system, that you need to be frugal. Subconsciously, it's still there. It always plays a role when you are taking decisions, whether it's a professional decision or a personal decision, right? Nowadays we talk about frugal innovation. Nowadays we talk about subscription economy. I think what we were doing with these books, right, like passing it down from person to person till literally pages were tearing apart. I think that was nothing but subscription economy in a way, right? So I think the underlying value system started when we were very young, and then you build on it, right? Your milestones and life experiences build on it. So For example, some of the major milestones in my life, if I could talk about that, I think the first one was when I got through one of the best, engineering colleges in India, and soon after that, when I got my first job, that was a huge validation in my skill set, what I've learned, and even to validate, the gaps that I have in my personality. I'm not a very smooth talker. I'm still, after years of management experience, I'm still very nerdy, very geeky. So after I did programming for a few years, I decided to pursue my higher studies, and that was the second and probably one of the biggest milestones in my life. And I got through IIM Bangalore, which is, obviously, uh, one of the best management institutes in the world. So that is something that really caused a dramatic shift in my thinking. That kind of experience, it sort of breaks you completely and then builds you back together in a much more stronger way. So that led to my next milestone, which was getting through 3M in the campus placements that happened at IIM Bangalore. So 3M, if you know, it's one of the most worshipped brands in a B school, and there's so many case studies about 3M. You wouldn't have a single course that would not talk about 3M and its innovation culture. And at 3M, I ended up managing a product portfolio which had the maximum percentage share of new products as compared to any other portfolio that my fellow colleagues were handling. So it helped me understand product development and product innovation in a very deep way. Starting with doing extensive market research, uh, uh, doing voice of customers, uh, going back and to the R&D team, getting formulations developed, going back to the customers with samples, getting their feedback, incorporating their feedback into the product, then doing pilot launches, and then from pilot launches scaling it up to a full scale product launch. Marketing, pricing, bundling, everything, right? So I think it was a great experience in innovation, and I really treasure that experience. After a few years at 3M, I decided to quit, and the motivation was that I wanted to work for a startup. At MNC like 3M, you take a lot of things for granted, right? Everything is sort of figured out, right? If you want to book a hotel, you want to book your flights, you have a help desk doing that for you. I wanted to experience the other side of things. I wanted to understand how startups function. Where means are limited, where you need to really be frugal about how you're spending your money. I was very industry agnostic at that time. I wanted to work for a company that is serving a social purpose, but not necessarily in healthcare. So I ended up joining a company called ClassCap, which was a startup in the EdTech space. And I stayed there for a long time. I set up their product marketing function to begin with. Did that for an year or so. After setting up the marketing function, I set up their analytics function from grounds up. Any company goes through a maturity model in analytics, right? You don't end up doing predictive modeling right from the day one. So we were doing a lot of dashboards, sales dashboards, productivity dashboards, operations, finance dashboards. So there was a lot of BI tool involved. There was a lot of data pre-processing involved. But yes, we had started taking some baby steps towards machine learning. We
What year it was when you started this?
I think it was around 2017.
So it's a kind of early phase of machine learning. So we started hearing kind of, yes, how the machine learning is going to change.
Yeah, so we tried a few things just from an experiment point of view, and for example, we were trying to do a 360-degree view of our customer health. You know, by taking in data points from the operations team, from the implementation team, from the finance team, and trying to put everything into a machine learning model. You were trying to understand the probability of renewing an account. It was an initial attempt at machine learning, but I think it gave some good pointers to the sales team in terms of what measures they should take to retain an account. So this is important actually because till that time I had not really connected the dots, and the fact that I had done development, Then I had done sales, marketing, analytics. I had not really connected the dots until then that I was shaping up into a product manager or into a product management profile. So I'd been on field during my sales days or during my marketing days. That gave me huge customer empathy. I had obviously handled a number of new product launches, so project management came bundled with it. And then obviously after you launch a product, then you try to understand what is working, what is not working. So there is analytics involved, right? So all these things combined, helped me shape up as a product manager.
And that's basically a product vision. You can kind of get a product vision out of it, right? Understanding the challenges which the real common people are facing. And if that common challenge is across the industry or across a lot of people, then you basically get an idea which you can kind of create a product and solve that underlying issue. On top of it, the product builds it kind of, then it open gateway for newer opportunities for you, giving more features, giving more ideas. And you again kind of reinvent your product, recreate the things you want, make the journey kind of shorter for them, easier for them, and then you start integrating pricing in. The bloodline of the product is finance or kind of the pricing.
Yeah, it has to have good unit economics, right? It cannot be just because we are riding a wave, we give away something for free, and because we cannot give something for free forever, right? So, yeah, I think when I connected the dots and I realized that all these experiences have helped me move in the direction of product management, I decided to stick on to that from there onwards. And then it became purely about the scale. Can I? I've been handling a team of let's say 5 people so far, and and this is a scale of work. In my next role, can I handle let's say 25 people and and manage product for the entire organization? And I think that's what happened when I joined FEV. I had a much larger team. We had around 100 plus folks in the engineering team, product engineering team. We had engineers, DBS, business analysts, UX folks, and everyone. Obviously, they were not reporting to the product owners. In fact, they shouldn't, right? So I had a group of product owners who were reporting into me directly, and they were working with some 8 odd Scrum teams. And there were a few Scrum teams that I was handling directly. So this organization structure helps you scale or increase the scope of influence or the scope of work that you are able to handle, right?
Yes. Converting an idea into a product is the difficult part of it, right? So that is execution, right? And somebody who has experience to be on both the sides basically can connect the dots much better than others who only kind of see how the product is built or who only can see how to sell it, right? So what was the particular moment when you realized that product management and leadership were calling?
So when I was exiting class lab, right, I think that was the time when I had to make a choice. I was already heading their analytics function, so the choice was between analytics or something else in my next gig. One of the things that I realized at that time was that if I get into an analytics role, I might not be able to utilize my previous experience as much. So analytics in itself is a very very big field, but in my case, because I had this experience across multiple functions, I think it made more sense for me to get into product management instead of analytics. And it's a very very good culmination of all the skills that I had acquired over a period of time.
So many people struggle with these career transitions. So you have successfully moved across industries and roles. So what advice for professionals you wanted to give? So who wanted to pivot into these new roles or who wanted to kind of become the next product managers who understand AI?
I think the lifespan of a new technology is much shorter in the sense that the technology comes, it hits you, and then it becomes invisible. So, for example, internet, right? Nowadays, we assume Wi-Fi will be publicly available, free of cost, wherever we go, right? So, I think you need to be constantly learning. I think learning should not stop. So, for instance, in my case, after I did my post graduation, I did not stop there. I continued to do some course, some certification. Whenever I wanted to do a transition, let's say from tech to business or business to analytics or analytics to product management, I always went back to the book and I tried to learn something in a structured way. So, for example, when I wanted to understand more about customer empathy or consumer behavior, I decided to do a master's in psychology, and that was very helpful actually. In schools and colleges, we are not really taught that people are different. People can think differently, people can behave differently. So that program definitely helped me understand how people think and behave. And even now, for example, currently I'm enrolled into a data science program. It's a 2-year master's program. I know that this will not be the end of it. I think there'll be a time soon that I need to pick up some other skill and that I need to learn in a structured way. So that's one thing. I strongly feel that you need to keep learning. What you're learning is not important. Uh, the fact that you need to keep throwing something novel or new to the brain, it's almost like a neural network. You need to keep it activated all the time. So that is the first thing that I feel is important. And the second thing is, when you have learned something, don't give it up so easily. So for example, in my case, when I wanted to choose between product management and analytics, I did not want to let go of all the things that I've learned in the past. This is something that is very common these days. You have one new trend and everybody needs to run towards it, otherwise they'll have this huge FOMO that they'll miss out on something, the next big thing. But I strongly feel that the skills that you have learned in the past should try as much as possible to build your next skill on top of it, rather than just brush it aside and then uh, try to jump onto something completely new. So yeah, to summarize, this is just my 2 cents. Never stop learning, and there is a concept called spaced repetition. I think the viewers can look up this on the internet. You need to keep repeating what you've learned to internalize it at regular periodic intervals, and like I said, the other thing is you should never give up on what you've already learned.
So Richard Feynman said a very important thing. What he said was, teaching is the best form of learning. So people should figure out a way how they can teach others whatever they learn. If they can teach it well and they can answer the question of those people, then he has a clear understanding of the idea.
It's like if you cannot explain something to a 5-year-old, that means you have not understood that concept yourself.
Yeah. So teaching something with abstract words becomes much easier, right? But when you try to teach it to a 5-year-old or 6-year-old, 7-year-old, then those abstract words don't work out, right? You have to
Yeah,
go into the specific, the vocabulary they have. And then you
yeah.
find that teaching something on a very basic level, at the kind of the minutest level, at the building blocks, is very, very difficult. So the follow-up question on this is that how can someone highlight transferable skills when making a career shift? So today, you know that a lot of people are kind of moving from old style of work to something which integrates with more uh, like upcoming technologies, maybe a SaaS product, maybe a cloud-based product, maybe a AI-based product. So how they can kind of do this transition? Yes.
Hmm. So I'll speak from experience, not just mine, but what I've seen people do effectively. You need to basically build a portfolio in such a way that it automatically guides you towards bridging that delta or the gap. So in my case, for instance, I had built some analytics dashboards for a team at Class Lab, and there were two ways of looking at it. Right, I could look at it uh, as product analytics, or I could look at it as analytics product. Right. So as a product manager, I might want to talk about it as analytics product, whereas as analytics manager, I might want to talk about it as product analytics, right? So it's just the way you fine tune your narrative. It's not that you're trying to be manipulative or you're trying to cook up a story, but it's just that you're trying to tell your story in a way that it helps your cause. See, it's not very easy to first get another job and then start building a brand new experience, right? Especially when you're trying to move in a very disruptive way, when you're trying to pivot into a different role altogether. I think an easier way to do this is you find a project or you create your own project in your free time at your current workplace. Even if it takes some extra effort, create a project of your own and then hard sell it. Once you build something, go around evangelizing that I've built this dashboard. It's going to improve your productivity. Why don't you start using it? Why don't you ask your team members to start using it? And this is how you basically showcase yourself as somebody who has a new skill and can pivot into a new role in the existing organization. Just to summarize, build a portfolio and and uh, and do it for free. If it has to be done that way.
Right. So somehow you basically have to think out of the box, you're saying, and bring in something very useful in your current work style or your current product, which at the time people have no clear understanding, but once you convert that idea into a product, so slowly people kind of start using it and they kind of feel that the product adds value. Yeah. Moving on to product management and innovation. In your experience, what makes a product truly successful? So beyond just great technology, so what are the key elements you would like to see in a product, which as per your definition becomes a great product?
See, for me, technology has always been an enabler. There are no guarantees, obviously. See, your product will be successful because you've done XYZ. It's a checklist. No, nothing like that. It's a very dynamic world, and your own worldview might be very different from your customer's worldview, right? Uh, and then you have market forces, market dynamics. You might be onto something, and then suddenly some regulation kicks in from the government, and they say, no, we are not going to allow any of this, right? So anything can happen, right?
Equity markets where government kind of keep pushing new rules just to safeguard the investors.
Yeah, and it can be anything. It could be competition. It could be so many uncontrollable things. And you can just try your best to reduce the probability of failure or the scale of failure. And that's why you have these concepts like MVP. You talk about failing fast. You talk about pivoting, right? So the first thing that I believe is most important is you need to be close to the customer. You need to do your voice of customer as extensively as possible, as many times as possible, uh, so that you understand for sure that the problem that you're trying to solve is actually a problem or not. And this is even before you do your first wireframe or first write your first line of code, right? Um, you keep going back to the customer, keep iterating, and if you need to pivot, you might go to a customer and realize that they don't actually care about the problem that you've been trying to solve, but they actually care about some other problem. And then you should not be married to the idea. You should be able to pivot and jump onto the other problem and try to solve it, right? And beyond all this, I think ultimately what matters is execution, right? um, and that is the most boring part of this whole thing, right? Getting into daily stand-ups, understanding what the teams are up to, whether they are on track or not, is there any bottleneck, how can you solve an impediment, and things like that, right? There is so much of documentation that a product manager has to do, and people should not think product managers are like doing some fancy um, uh, you know uh, boardroom meetings, suitcases, flights, and all that. No, it's not that. Bulk of the work is boring, and yes, if you're trying to get into a product manager role, you should be ready to sign up for the boring, right?
There are two parts to it, what I understand. One is a commitment that you wanted to do something, and then is a basically that motivates you to start, right? And then comes the hardest part, the consistency, which takes you to the end, right? So you have to be consistent for a very, very long time to make a product a great product. And execution is which fills in between, right? The music is between the two notes and not the two notes. So it's like it's a very silent thing, execution. It's don't see it, but it's in between. If it's not there, then it's not the music. Yes. A follow-up question. So, can you share an example of a product
Mhm.
decision or a big impact idea which you kind of implemented or which helped you?
Yeah, so in my previous organization, we were basically doing online tutoring. The tutors would be based out of India, and they would be working in the night shifts, and the students would be based out of US. So obviously, like you can imagine, the Indians are very good with elementary and secondary education, right? But where they would struggle typically is communication skills, fluency, right? So what we'd done was we had integrated ChatGPT with the interface, with the chatting interface, which would basically get fed with a brief context of what's happening, between the tutor and the student, and the engine would suggest a follow-up question or a follow-up statement that tutor should make to continue that engagement. It was a small pilot. We started out with a few set of tutors, and very soon all the tutors were asking for it, and we had to plan for peak load times. We had to scale up the solution. So we used to do 20,000 sessions at peak times on a single day. So you can imagine we had to have a production ready system so that the tutors, when they're using the system, they don't face latency issues and stuff like that, right? So I think it was a small idea or a small POC that we did, and it had a really big impact when we scaled it up. Yeah.
Yeah, a small idea how it can be kind of scaled to make it impact a lot of people, right? It's a very small change just to help somebody better communicate, right?
Yeah, you're learning from the best, basically, right? So, yeah, ultimately, if you look at AI as a friend or a mentor, you don't have anything to worry. Basically, we keep saying that whatever we are feeding to the LLMs, ultimately, is making them stronger and more accurate. But ultimately, if you're using it to your advantage, you are also becoming stronger.
Yeah, understand. Yeah. So innovation is a best buzzword, right? But implementing it's challenging. How would you cultivate a culture of innovation within teams, especially in fast-paced environments?
See, I think you have to allow people to fail. Okay, people or managers would claim that they are agile practitioners, but I've seen a lot of them pull up a developer in a daily stand-up. They've not been able to meet their story point estimate. See, without even realizing the fact that story point estimates are meant to be estimates, right? Software development is not like bricklaying. You're bound to hit roadblocks. You're going to have bugs. You're going to have bug fixing taking time. You'll have scalability issues, architecture, and everything. And if, as a manager, you're not able to sort of digest the fact that developers can sometimes miss on the story point estimates, then you're not innovation ready. See, as a result, what happens is you building a culture where people are afraid to make commitments. They end up building too much of buffer into everything that they are asked to commit on, and as a result, the whole project, suffers. So. And that is the reason for the huge anti-agile wave that is currently going on in the market, where leadership is very disillusioned by agile because developers are not ready to make a clear commitment. They keep talking in terms of story points. They don't talk in terms of hard deadlines. And leadership wants to understand when something will be done in terms of hard deadlines. And that has happened purely because of line managers who are not innovation ready, because they are not ready to understand how to lead innovation. You have to let people fail so that they are able to find another innovative way of solving the same problem, right? And there are other things also, like you need to have an optimum size of the team. You cannot have a very large team. You need to have these small pods, self-organizing, self-enabled pods, where you don't need to tell people specifically that Rohit, you are going to work on this, Jyoti, you are going to work on this. You need to assign the team a set of tasks, and the team should be able to self-organize and pick up on their own what they want to work on, right? And there are other things like I already mentioned, like we have to work very closely with the customers and try to grasp their problems at their own workplace, right? But having said all this, I still feel that the biggest bane is not letting your team members fail. That's what I strongly feel. What do you think?
So if you have to fail, you fail fast. So you quickly figure out that the things are not working, scrap it and start redoing it. Also on the team level, again, Jeff Bezos said a very important thing. A team should be able to eat in a pizza. So a team should not be bigger than that. So MVP team should not be bigger than that. Otherwise, you will be kind of creating too many layers and too many conflicts. MVP should be basically done in 20-25 days. And with the advent of new technology, it's kind of the products are now done in 20-25 days.
See, smart managers, I think should be able to build MVPs on their own. I think pure play line management or people management is going to be redundant very soon. So if you are a manager, you have to be hands-on. You have to be doing some coding.
Only people management, I think, will face a challenge. You have to have a skill which adds on to your people management skills, because soft skills are anyway needed.
See, folks will also need to understand management. It's not that just because I have years of experience as a developer, I will be entitled to get a team to work under me. That's also not going to happen. And I'm sure AI will help in that direction as well. To understand that peoples are different and people are motivated by different reasons. I guess both sides will need to know a bit of everything, and both sides will meet somewhere, right? Yeah.
So AI is
Yeah,
bridging that technical and non-technical thing. If you are on one
right.
side, you can go to the other side. You can walk over the
Mm.
bridge of AI, which
Yeah,
wall has been broken. That I only
yeah,
do technical stuff. I don't understand non-technical things. I don't
yeah,
understand people management, but I only understand technical. Even the
yeah,
other way around, vice versa. So AI had
yeah,
bridged that, and a lot of people will now be able to shift roles. Somebody who is very good at coding, but also good at loves to do people management, will be able to cross over. So can you kind of share a time when an unconventional idea turned into a breakthrough, something which you thought that it will not be that successful, and something which out of the box, or
So there are actually some world famous industry examples uh, where something unconventional became the next big thing. For example, when Google started out with their whole ad-based revenue, nobody was doing ad-based revenue at that time, and the whole idea of landing somebody in a very sincere way onto the information that they're looking for, and in bargain. Show them a few ads that are contextual and they are relevant for the user. I think it was a huge dramatic shift in the way one would do online search. And look at it now, like 90% of Google search volumes are down because of what's happening on the OpenAI side of things, right? But these are industry examples and obviously great ones. But what I think is innovation is not just about a new product. It can be innovation if it is a creative way of pricing a product bundle, for example, right? If it is a creative way of distributing your product, if it's just a process or a practice change in an unconventional way, right? So I have an interesting example from my class club days. So we had hired somebody from Tally as a channel manager, and after he joined us, he had a distributor contact from his Tally, and he converted that distributor into a school or a books distributor because we were selling curriculum products, and the reality at that time was that traditional publishers would sell to a traditional distributor at huge margins, like it would be 50-60% margins, and the distributor would basically sell to schools. It used to work out fine for traditional publishers because um, they wouldn't be doing any personalization. So they would print in bulk and then they would leave everything else to the distributor, including collections. Some of the new age companies and startups like ours, what we were trying to do is we were trying to build and distribute personalized learning solutions, which means that along with textbooks, we were also providing the students personalized material to improve on their weak areas. So like you can imagine, it was a high involvement product, and since we were selling to affordable private schools, we did not have very huge margins because we had to keep the landing price affordable to the parents. Um, so, and we did not have the scale to actually publish in such high bulk volumes that we get very good rates from the printers. So we had hired this tally distributor, like I said, unconventional, not a regular book distributor. And I think within 2 years, he was contributing 50% to the region's revenue. And before that, we were all direct to schools. So some interesting thing happened after that. We had obviously partnered with an unconventional partner, and he happened to have a very strong sub-dealer tally network, who would basically go and sell tally licenses to schools. Uh, Now he activated his sub-dealer network to sell books. So when they would basically go and talk about tally, they would also go and talk about class club, our company products. They would do marketing events, they would do collections.
That bring in the cash, right?
I think collection was the biggest pain for us as a startup, and I think they took that pain away from us in a very, very nice way, because they had deeper pockets and they had better relationships with the customers. So relationships help because, for example, in those rare occasions when you, let's say, slipped on a service requirement that you have promised to a customer, then they would make a big deal out of it and they would refuse to pay. But with somebody who has a good relationship with the school, they would basically, be more rational about paying you for what you have delivered, at least, right? I think it was a huge success, hiring a channel partner, that too an unconventional tally distributor, and obviously we had to share our profits with them when we were not going direct, but we were going through them. But I think it was worth every penny because of the value that they were adding in the whole value chain, right?
Win-win partnerships are sometimes you never know you are entering into a win-win partnership, and suddenly you figure out that yes.
Yeah, I mean, you plan what you plan, but sometimes when you get one success, then some unplanned success follows automatically. So, for example, in our case, we did not anticipate that the tally distributor will activate his sub-dealer network in such a big way, right? And as a result of being able to distribute more books or selling to more schools, we were able to bring down our publishing cost because we would be able to give bigger orders to the printers, right? And when you have a lesser printing cost, then you have a bigger margin to play with. So you can incentivize your dealer even more by giving them bigger margins, and that sets a cycle of business growth, right?
So as a leader, you have worked with cross-functional teams, engineers, designers, and business leaders, right? So what's the approach to align diverse team towards common product vision? So there are always conflicts, right? Everybody has a point of view. Everybody has their own experiences. So what, as a leader, how would you kind of align everybody?
Got it.
In a way, your answer is in the question already. You spoke about common product vision, right? So when you have this conflicting vested interests or people working in silos, and it happens all the time, right? There's always a fight between QA and dev. There's always a fight between stakeholders and product owners, right? How do you align the functional goals into a larger organization goal? I think that's one of the greatest skill as a PM. You have to bring everyone to a common meeting room, and it's easier said than done because uh, somebody who's not cut out to handle this role, they will typically have a tendency to keep their meetings in silos. They would shy away from calling everyone to a common meeting room because they know that it's going to be an emotionally charged, environment, and they might not be very good at handling those meetings. So it's kind of done through influence. See, as a PM, uh, the UX, the engineering team, the QA team, they're not directly reporting to you. But then you have to look at it as an advantage because they don't look at you as a biased party, right? Provided you are not a biased party. So you should be able to proactively call everyone to a common forum and let them fight it out in that forum. Have an agenda that we are going to solve this problem before anybody leaves the meeting room. Okay, and people are different, see, engineers would not like half-baked requirements. Architects are never happy with tech debts. See, when the business is calling for a fast release, they want you to do some patchwork and ship it out. The devs and the architects are never happy with that, right? Similarly, designers, right? They do not want interference when they are thinking from their aesthetic sense. Then they don't want a product person or a developer to come and tell them that, okay, put a button in this place or a text box in this place. They hate it. They don't like it at all. And then we talk about stakeholders, right? See, stakeholders are typically in a very tough situation because they are facing the end customers. So when they come to you with a problem statement, they don't want to hear that this cannot be done. What they want to hear is a possibility, right? Something like, let's see what we can do, and let me go and talk to the dev team and understand their constraints, and then we will come up with a solution that works for everyone. and you can tell the stakeholders very transparently that, see, this is the capacity that we have, this is the work that has been assigned to us by you guys in the last, let's say, PI planning or the quarterly planning. Now you tell us what work we should take off from this list, so that we can accommodate this new thing that you are bringing up now, that we can deliver it to the customer, right? And they like it, they really like it, because uh, I've always found stakeholders to be very flexible when it comes to the scope of something that needs to be delivered. They might not be very flexible with the timing of delivery, but they are very flexible with the scope. So they are the best people to tell you that, okay, we gave you these 10 screens, but you could basically hold back on these two screens, and instead take up this new work that is coming in, because these two screens are going to be used by a very small percentage of our customers, right? And they intuitively know that, because they are closer to the target audience. The only thing that they want to hear is that there is room to discuss. There's an openness to discuss. There is a room for possibilities. Um, they don't want to hear that, no, nothing doing, we are not going to take up any new work, because in the last quarterly planning we made a commitment to you for this specific scope, and the team is going to deliver only that. No, it's a dynamic world. That's the whole concept of agile. A new work can come in at any point of time, and the team has to be agile enough uh, accommodate this change. It doesn't mean that they have to really overwork or slog it out. They need to be open-minded about coming to a meeting room and having an open discussion about what can be done, what can not be done, and what can be accommodated.
The entire project fails, right? The entire product fails if there are kind of deadline issues, right? Everybody
Yeah.
fails. It's not one person who's failing, right?
I think as a product manager, if there is any resistance in our heads that we are not going to call for a meeting because there is this one guy who is really loud and he's going to bulldoze the entire meeting, and hence we should not call for a meeting. No, I think you should have a strategy around it, so that even the shy, introverted people are heard. Everybody gets to say what they want to say. Um, you should not shy away from calling a meeting, or find reasons or excuses to not call for a common meeting, right?
Discussion is must, I think, in product building. Discussion should be in a critical progressive manner, right? The follow-up question is, how do you kind of then handle conflicts between different teams who are competing for priorities? Yeah.
if the people if people have this faith or trust in you, that since I know that Jyoti is going to be there in this meeting room, so I will not come out of this meeting room shortchanged or being fooled, right? I think then your problem is solved.
So decision making in leadership is a tough. Likewise, you said, right, you cannot have a bias, right? Especially under uncertainty. So you don't know how the product vision will change, how people will adopt. So you never know how good a product is, how bad a product is, though you're putting your best efforts, right? So what's your framework to make high stake decisions? Things don't always work out the way, maybe the next week or the next month, but eventually it will, right? Or eventually someday it might kind of go in your favor, someday it might not go in your favor. So what kind of framework you will apply for making these high stake decisions?
See, uncertainty is in the nature of business, right? And according to me, leadership is equal to decision making. And often at times you have to make decisions with a limited number of data points. If you're not able to do that, then you're not a leader. See, for example, in Agile, we have this framework called WSJF. In this, what you do is you have your list of features. Let's say you have 100 features. For each feature, you assign how much effort does it take to complete that feature, and how much value that you derive once the feature is completed and gone live. Uh, Now, what you do is basically you use this scale to decide what are the list of features that provide you the maximum value with the least effort, right? But then you can't simply depend on numbers, because I may say that this job is going to require, let's say, 8 in terms of effort, whereas you might say that it's going to require 4. Then what number do we trust, right? So it is good to have a framework. It will definitely help you cut down the list of 100 to, let's say, a list of 20. But ultimately, it's a subjective decision that a leader has to take. That out of these 20 features, which feature should we take up first, which will have the maximum impact on our customer base, right? So that is leadership. Similarly, you have another framework for risk in scaled agile, right? It's called Roam. Basically, you try to categorize your risk into different buckets, and you decide whether the risk is, uh, owned by somebody, whether it's mitigated, whether it's already resolved, and stuff like that. So again, what happens is suppose like you have a risk of not meeting your timeline on a particular feature because your team is not skilled, they're not skilled in a particular technology. Now you have to decide to resolve that risk by, let's say, either training your in-house team on a particular technology, or you have to decide to buy a service from an external third party, and both have their own risk, right? You might uh, not be able to train your team on time, or you might not be able to get the kind of service that you want from a service provider. So again, there is a decision to be made. It's a gray area, right? Anytime there is an uncertainty, right, there is a scope for a leader to show up.
So can you share a time when a difficult decision paid off and or didn't go as you planned? You take up decisions, so therefore that's a leadership role, but it sometimes goes in your favor, sometimes does not, right? Though you put your best put forward, yeah.
So instead of taking a product example, let me take my own example and let me treat myself as a product here. Um, I think I jumped from a reputed global MNC like 3M to into the startup world, right? I think at that time it was a big risk, and I think I realized that much later, uh, that I was able to grow exponentially as a result of that. Like in the AI world, you talk about exploit and explore, right? You intentionally try to put the agent into the explore path now and then, um, because you don't want them to hit a local maxima, right? To be able to reach a global maxima, you need to experiment. You need to feel unsettled at times, to be able to realize a skill that you never knew that existed. If you keep on exploiting your existing skill set for the rest of your life, you will not grow. You will not learn, right? So that's how I look at things.
So moving ahead, Rohit, some advice for the students, professional and job seekers. So for students or young professionals aspiring to enter into product management, right, or tech leadership, so what are the crucial skills they should focus on? Yeah.
So I'll keep this one short, honestly, because for me, like everything else is procedural. I think one thing that is sort of non-negotiable is empathy, right? Customer empathy. So I think if you're not able to live the challenge or the problem that your customer is having, if you're not able to go to their workplace and see how they are struggling or what are the pain points that they are experiencing on a day-to-day basis, if you're not able to live that problem, I think you cannot be a good product manager. And this is according to me. It might probably be possible for somebody to not go on field at all and still be able to showcase great success as a product manager, but honestly, I wouldn't want somebody like that in my team you know
Yeah, I agree. But the customer empathy, Rohit, only comes with experience, right? Somebody who is young, you don't know the exact formula which converts experience into empathy. But somebody who does not have experience, how would he kind of get that empathy? So
So lately, what I've started doing is that every time I would jump into a new role or a new job, I would myself have a formal 7-day plan and a formal 30-day plan chalked out for me, even if it's not something that my manager has asked me to do. And I think that has started helping me in a big way. During these 7 days, I would ensure that I would meet all the big wigs. I would meet the teams. I would start meeting the customers at their workplace. In fact, I always ensure that in the first 7 days, I have some time chalked out for field visits, so that I understand the customer base, I understand the product, I understand the business before I start, working on anything.
in my experience, a similar thing used to happen. Whenever new joinee used to join a team, So I used to force him to ask anything he wants for the first month or 2 months, because after 2 months he cannot ask me the questions which he should have asked in the 2 months, right? You will lose that honeymoon period. This is the period where you should ask as much as possible, and you are here to learn, right? So yeah. So if you're starting a career today, what one thing you would do differently?
Uh, uh, yeah, if I'm starting my career today, I think I would go back to the same answer. I wish I had done this 7-day, 30-day plan uh, right from the beginning. When I started my first job, I wish it was taught in schools.
Yeah, you're proactive. You wanted to become productive as soon as possible. You wanted to ask the questions as soon as possible. Yeah. So you basically honor your time, and you also honor the other person's time. But job seekers in today's competitive market, which one common mistakes you see and how they can avoid it?
I think one thing that often I see people missing out on is doing pre-work on the company. I'll always ask this question in the interview. See, you must have done some research about us uh, before you came for the interview. Tell me, what have you understood about us as a company and what we do in the business? And here, the accuracy is not important at all. Um, it is a way to understand whether the person is respecting your time, right? He's clear about what he wants, right?
Know about where you're going, right?
It has so many things combined. And I have, young candidates coming up and saying, sorry, I didn't get time to go through your website. Can you tell me what you guys do? And it's a huge turn off, right? The smartest people, they might be good, very good technically, but they'll leave this gap. It doesn't look good.
Understand. So yeah, that happened to me also. So a follow up on this, right? What's are the top two, three qualities that stand out in a candidate during hiring?
So for product managers, I think one thing that is most important for me is listening. So if you're coming to an interview and you're talking 80% of the time, then you're not selected if you're in my interview. Because the way I interview people, I want it to be sort of a discussion between two intellectuals, right? And you should listen, and then you should react, and you should let the other person absorb and ask the next question, and then react again, right? And the other thing that I look for is ownership, or something called bias for action, right? See, you might be very good technically, or you might be one of the most creative persons on earth, right? But if you don't come across as somebody who has that fire, to get things done, and if you're asking the right questions, it would come out very very clearly in the interviews. So yeah, these two things are really important for me.
So one is kind of proactive listener, and another is ownership about whatever he has been assigned to, right? How well he can take the end-to-end ownership and understand it. Yeah, right. For a kind of a PM, it's the most important elements, right? If you're not listening, then you cannot kind of deliver on the project, and if you don't take the ownership, then the role itself is the key element of the role, right? Right. So moving ahead to the last topic, Rohit. So industry trends and future. So in the tech landscape is evolving rapidly with AI, right? Every day we get to see some competition beating some other competition, and how this infrastructure of intelligence is getting created in front of us. So AI, data, automation. How do you see the role of product managers changing in next 5 to 10 years? So now a lot of work which the product manager has to do over thinking has exponentially uh, the time has been reduced by interacting with the system, getting your thinking done very quickly.
So I'm taking a self-reference here because I've been using it so much myself. AI to do my day-to-day work. For example, for documentation, right? Feature definition, user story writing, acceptance criteria, test cases. I mean, you won't believe it if you feed a very unbaked product backlog to an LLM and just tell it to create a knowledge base article or even a user facing manual. I think it just does such an amazing job at it. It's fascinating. Obviously, you need to be smart enough to be asking the right questions or nudging the LLM in the right direction. But it's fascinating how soon it gets to a level of perfection that really is mind-boggling.
As if it is mind reading, right?
That's one part. Like how the product managers work on a day-to-day basis will change. They will be expected to know these tools to improve their productivity. they can no longer hold a development work because they are not ready with their feature definitions or the specs documents, right? So that is one part to it, right? The productivity side of things. The other side of it is like what you are building as a product manager. What product are you building will also drastically change. Let's say you have a UX where you need a chat interface, and you're talking about a future product which is AI driven. So you might not even need a chat interface on the UI, right? Because you don't even have to type out anything anymore, right? So the interface itself changes. You don't need those text boxes. You don't need a chat interface anymore, right? The solution design itself will change, right?
Correct. And nobody wants to interact with the system for hours and hours, right? You want your work to be done without much of interaction, right?
Yeah.
So how the product design will influence that new technology, like through a
Yeah.
chat interface, you can get your work done. Now that
Yeah.
chat get abstracted to a voice interface. Tomorrow it will get abstracted to a vision interface. Something.
Interesting you mentioned about computer vision, because we had a use case for proctoring. So typically when you have a human proctor, it's a one-to-one proctoring, right? So you have somebody watching over you for the entire duration of the test, right? Suppose you throw in computer vision into it, you don't need one person to be all the time, proctoring on invigilating a test taker, right? Your UI could be something similar to a CCTV footage, right, where you have these small thumbnails of uh, different students, and as soon as the AI thinks that a particular student is using unfair means, they red flag it, and that's when you click on that thumbnail and you zoom in and see what's really going on with that particular student, right? So you can imagine the UI itself has drastically changed just because the whole workflow has changed from one to one to one to one is to many solution, and this is how AI will play out. It will really change the way products are built and products are designed, and product managers have to be ready for that.
Satyanarayana is a very important thing. Today, interaction with CRM is like chatting with CRM, right? I ask it to kind of tell me about my organization, tell me, I just post the query, it does everything in the background, give me back the report. And that's the essence of newer systems. So, what skills will be more valuable for professionals to stay relevant?
So I have a very short answer to this. Like some of the other questions, I wish I had more words to add. I think for this question, I would say adaptability. Right? You cannot bank on a single degree. You cannot bank on your graduation. You need to keep learning. You need to keep on doing these micro credentials, certificate courses, informal learning. In today's world, it's become important to survive the market, and you need to keep learning continuously.
I'll move to industry trends and future outlooks. So, as per you, the tech landscape is evolving rapidly with AI, with data and automation. How do you see the role of product management changing over time within 3 to 5 years or 5 to 10 years? How do you see the role is evolving?
I think the way you manage the products change, and the products itself will change. There are two parts to it, right? So I think one thing that we have to keep in mind is that we should not resist the change. We should sort of embrace it. These are macroeconomic forces. There's no point of resisting it and brushing it aside. I think it's important. It's a new technology. It's important to understand it. When you understand it, it stops becoming overwhelming to you, and then you start thinking about how to apply it in your field, and then you start using it in a way that makes you more productive, and you reach a point where you're using it better than anybody else, right? So it has to start with being open-minded. You have to embrace the new technology, right? It will help you become more productive. You can do more with less. You can be more lean. You can be more agile. So that is one side of it, and the other side of it is the products itself will change. The future products will not be like the products of today. With AI baked in, the products will look very different. The products will have very different workflows. The products will have very different user journeys.
I also kind of keep thinking how the product management, how the products are, because product management has to change if the product is changing, right? So now the products are becoming like more natural interface. The way I'm speaking with you, the product is kind of going that direction.
Earlier when we used to buy phones, in the box we used to have these small user manuals, Today, when you unbox a new iPhone, you don't have a user manual. The interface has become so intuitive. The first time you on your phone, you have these coach marks that will tell you, do this first and do this next and do this next, right? Uh, it's amazing, right? We stopped using these booklets and we didn't even realize it.
So product management, I think, my view is going to become more intuitive, where you will, rather than creating UIs after UIs and flows after flows, you will kind of make it more intuitive. So it will, everything might run on the background. The system will understand you. For product management, the three axes: one is time, one is cost, and one is effort. These three axes are going to kind of significantly drop. So all the three axes are going to kind of shorten up.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, we are both producers and consumers. So that is the reason why we should not be afraid. Because if we have spent less on a product, the consumer is going to get the product at a cheaper price. And since we are also consumers of product, the same thing would reflect and benefit us on the other side, right?
I think product management is not always about software thinking. It is also about a potter who is creating very good art of on his pottery. Now he cannot sell because he does not know how to connect to an e-commerce business. If this interface becomes so intuitive for him that he can easily connect it, going digital becomes very easy for you now.
Yeah,
So on in this
absolutely.
question, so what skills will be most valuable for professionals to stay relevant going forward? So I know AI is basically not a skill. AI is the intelligence layer. It's a fabric on which everything will be built upon. Similar to compute or similar to electricity.
See, I think if you remove all the insecurities and all the hype around AI, think it's like any other technology like internet, electricity, right? Um, it's like a layer. Everybody should be able to tap into it and they should be able to use it. And that would happen only if you trust the technology, right? It's almost like a person, right? When you get into a relationship, you trust your girlfriend, right? And you give each other the space and time to grow or to mature. New technology is similar to that, right? You are learning from the technology is learning from you, and both of you are sort of growing if you give each other space and time. But it has to start with a sense of trust, right?
You have to understand that this technology is also moving forward, and it's moving forward at a very very quick pace. But then to be a part of the journey, you have to be within the technology, not outside. That you have to kind of embrace it in your work. You have to trust it. How it is doing is something similar to, we don't know how compute works, right? How Intel chips works, or but it
Yeah.
works, right? So finally, right, so what one piece of advice, career advice, that has stuck with you throughout your journey, that your mentor gave or you basically learned?
Okay, so if you're trying to make a transition, I think you should basically tell the story in such a way that that you've already arrived, because otherwise you will keep getting roles that you've already done in the past. It will not help you pivot. Um, so that is one thing. Probably the other thing that I can think of is networking. See, with this AI technology, soon everybody's CV and cover letters will look as good as anybody else. So then what do you have left? You have people who you have worked with who can vouch for you and who can champion your profile. So I think networking is going to be extremely important in the times ahead.
The future roles will be more about what you bring on the table, okay, and not in terms of experience only, in terms of product. People who are coming up, they should kind of try to put their projects on the web. They should kind of mention that this is a product which I have created with a team, and whatever, this is available on the web, you can go and check it, right? And this is
Yeah.
XYZ the product does, it has these capabilities, we are building on these capabilities. So the discussion become more fruitful, right? It's rather than a uh, I question and you answer, like a viva, it becomes more intuitive, right?
It's a great point actually. Building a publicly available portfolio and subjecting yourself to fire uh, by letting people critique it and comment on it. Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Yeah.
So yes, Rohit, so that's it. So we have come to the end of the last question. So and first, thank you for you giving us your time.
It's completely my pleasure, Jyoti, and I would be happy to take any questions from your listeners. See, I'm no expert. Um, Definitely not somebody who can say that I have 30, 40 years of experience and people should take my word for gospel truth. I'm also learning, but if any 2 cents from me can help anybody who is just starting out his or her career and or trying to make a career transition, I would be really happy. Yeah,
So, so upcoming, it's kind of a very challenging time for people who think that only degrees will matter, and basically, even the digital world is becoming intuitive. So communication will matter the most. Now you don't have to communicate with people only; you have to communicate with the machine.
absolutely. I think collaborative work. That's the future. That's the future.